The Dark Multiverse screams, not with sound but with the weight of infinite failures, realities where hope died in its cradle, where heroes became monsters, where every choice led to damnation. In this place of living nightmares, where the Batman who laughs once orchestrated his symphony of horror, a new power has risen. A throne forged from the shattered weapons of fallen heroes sits at the center of a twisted Themyscira, its marble columns bleeding darkness like open wounds. Upon that throne sits a figure both familiar and alien, Wonder Woman, but not as the world remembers her. Her armor is black as the void between stars, her tiara sharp enough to split reality itself, and her eyes burn with the cold fire of absolute certainty. This is not a hero fallen from grace. This is a god queen who has claimed dominion over despair itself, and she believes, with the unwavering conviction that once made her prime Earth's greatest champion, that only through her iron rule can the multiverse be saved from itself. Diana Prince died the day she entered this realm. The Dark Wonder rose in her place, and the screaming never stopped. On prime Earth, in the watchtower orbiting high above a world that doesn't yet know the danger approaching, Batman stands before the cosmic treadmill's dimensional scanner with Superman and the Flash beside him. The readings make no sense. Dimensional breaches from the Dark Multiverse have been increasing for 72 hours, but these aren't random tears in reality like the ones Barbatos created. These are precise, surgical incisions. Someone with intimate knowledge of prime Earth's dimensional barriers is cutting their way through. Batman's detective mind catalogs the pattern, and he doesn't like the conclusion taking shape. The breach points target our strongholds, Batman says, his voice flat with the control of a man forcing emotion away from analysis. The Watchtower, Themyscira, Atlantis, the Hall of Justice. Someone knows exactly where to strike. Superman floats closer to the holographic display, his expression troubled beneath the weight of invulnerability. Who in the Dark Multiverse would have that knowledge? The Batman who laughs is gone. We made sure. Not who, Batman interrupts. What kind of hero? Someone we trained, someone we trusted with our contingencies. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Someone from the Trinity. The implications hang in the air like smoke. The Flash, Barry Allen, breaks the silence with the optimism that makes him the League's heart, even as dread creeps into his voice. It can't be. Wonder Woman's been on Themyscira for the past week. She's not responding to communications, Batman finishes, for 6 days, and the breaches started 7 days ago. Superman's invulnerable skin somehow looks pale. Bruce, you're suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything, I'm following evidence. Batman turns from the screen, cape spreading like dark wings. Clark takes Cyborg and John Stewart, boom tube to Themyscira, find Diana, confirm she's safe. Barry with me. We're going to the breach point in Bloodhaven. If something comes through, we stop it. And if it's her? Superman asks quietly, the question every hero dreads. What do you do when your friend becomes your enemy? Batman's response is colder than Gotham's winter rain. Then we activate Protocol Diana. The heroes scatter to their missions, unaware that in the spaces between dimensions, in the howling dark where reality frays, an army is assembling. Dark Amazons, nightmare versions of the Themyscira's warriors from timelines where peace died and war became eternal, stand in perfect formation. Their armor is obsidian and bone. Their weapons hum with dark matter. And at their head, mounted on a creature that was once Pegasus but now resembles something from ancient nightmares, the Dark Wonder surveys her forces with satisfaction. She remembers prime Earth. She remembers the weakness of mercy, the foolishness of hope, the pathetic restraint that let villains like Ares and Circe survive to kill again. In the Dark Multiverse, she learned the truth that her former self refused to accept. Peace is only possible through total domination, and compassion is simply postponed cruelty. Her corrupted lasso of submission, no longer truth, for truth is whatever the conqueror declares it to be, coils at her side like a living serpent. The bracelets that once deflected bullets now absorb the suffering of entire realities, fueling her power. The sword at her back is no mere god-killer. It is the god-enslaver, forged in the furnace of a dark multiverse where she slaughtered the Olympians and claimed their thrones. "My Amazons," she addresses her army, and her voice carries the absolute authority of a general who has never known defeat. "Prime Earth suffers as I once did, believing that heroism means endless battle against chaos, that justice means imprisoning evil rather than eradicating it. I was weak then. I held back. I let sentiment cloud my warrior's judgment. No more." She raises her sword, and the dark multiverse trembles with approval. "We will breach their reality. We will conquer their cities. We will remake their world in the image of true peace, the peace of the victor's absolute law. And when my former friends stand before me with their tired speeches about hope and redemption, I will show them the mercy they showed Darkseid, the Joker, and every monster they let live to kill again." Her smile is a terrible thing, beautiful and pitiless. "I will give them the peace of the grave, and the multiverse will thank me." The breach opens like a wound in reality above the Messira. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. On the island of the Amazons, Queen Hippolyta stands with her royal guard as the sky tears open and darkness bleeds through. For 3,000 years, the Messira has stood as a bastion of peace and strength, training warriors who protect rather than conquer. Now the sky itself rebels against that legacy. The breach widens, and through it steps a figure that makes every Amazon reach for her weapon, even as their hearts shatter with recognition. Diana, their princess, their champion, their hope made flesh. But this Diana's eyes hold no warmth, no recognition of home. She surveys the Messira like a general assessing conquered territory, and when she speaks, her voice carries across the island with divine authority amplified by dark power. "Mother," the Dark Wonder addresses Hippolyta, and the word tastes like ash. "I have returned to save you from your greatest weakness, the belief that strength should serve others rather than rule them. Kneel now, and I will be merciful. Resist. And I will teach you what the Amazons could have been if we had not wasted our power on a world that never deserved our protection." Behind her, the dark Amazons pour through the breach, hundreds of nightmare warriors, each one a Diana who made different choices, who let violence become virtue, who embraced conquest over compassion. They land on sacred ground with weapons drawn, and the air itself grows heavy with impending war. Hippolyta's voice breaks as she draws her sword with hands that have held this child, trained this warrior, mourned every wound this daughter endured in humanity's defense. "Diana, whatever darkness has claimed you, fight it. You are an Amazon. We are warriors for peace, not conquerors of." "Peace through weakness is no peace at all," the Dark Wonder interrupts, and the lasso of submission lashes out faster than mortal eyes can track. It wraps around 3 of Hippolyta's guards, and they scream, not in pain but in surrender, their wills crushed beneath the weight of absolute dominion. They drop their weapons and kneel, eyes vacant, minds rewritten to serve their new empress. "This is mercy," the Dark Wonder declares as chaos erupts across the Messira. "This is the peace I will bring to all worlds." In the watchtower, alarms scream as dimensional readings spike off every chart. Batman's fingers fly across the console, pulling up satellite feeds of the Messira, and what he sees confirms his worst analysis. The island is under siege. The attackers wear Amazon armor, and leading them, impossible to mistake even through the corruption, is Wonder Woman. "All League members," Batman's voice cuts across every comm channel with the calm of a man who prepared for this nightmare even as he prayed it would never come. "Code Fallen Angel. Wonder Woman has been compromised. Response protocol. Diana is active. I repeat, Diana has fallen. Lethal force is authorized." Across the world, heroes stop mid-mission, their blood turning to ice at words they never thought they'd hear. The Trinity is broken. One of their gods has fallen into darkness. And if Wonder Woman, incorruptible Diana, whose lasso compels truth itself, can become a tyrant, then perhaps no hero is truly safe from the abyss. The Dark Wonder smiles as she feels the dimensional barriers between her new kingdom and prime Earth growing thinner. Soon, she will breach the Watchtower. Soon she will stand before her former friends. And soon they will understand what she learned in the Dark Multiverse's screaming heart, that the only true peace is the peace of absolute power, wielded without mercy or doubt. The invasion has begun, and hope itself hangs in the balance. Superman arrives at Themyscira 30 seconds too late. The Man of Steel's super hearing caught the sounds of battle from orbit, the clash of metal, the screams of warriors, the distinctive crack of divine weapons meeting godly flesh. Now he hovers above the island, and what he sees threatens to break even his unshakable optimism. Themyscira burns, not with conventional fire but with dark energy that consumes hope itself, leaving only despair in its wake. Amazon warriors fight Amazon warriors in the courtyards where they once trained together. Sisters battle sisters, and in the center of the chaos, standing before the royal palace with Queen Hippolyta bound at her feet by a black lasso, is Diana. But calling her Diana feels like a lie. This warrior queen wears corruption like a crown, her armor pulsing with the same dark matter energy that nearly destroyed reality during Barbatos's invasion. Her sword drips with ichor, divine blood, and at her feet lie three of Themyscira's greatest champions, not dead but worse than dead. Their eyes are empty, their wills shattered, kneeling in worship of the tyrant who was once their princess. Diana, Superman's voice carries across the battlefield with desperate hope. Whatever happened to you, we can fix this. We can. The Dark Wonder's laugh cuts through his words like her sword through armor. When she looks at him, Clark Kent sees a stranger wearing his friend's face. Kal-El, always so certain that every problem has a solution, that every fallen hero can be redeemed. Tell me, how many times has the Joker escaped Arkham? How many innocents died while you imprisoned Brainiac instead of destroying him? How many worlds has Darkseid conquered while you spoke of hope and second chances? She gestures and the Dark Amazons surge forward, not toward Superman but toward the remaining defenders. A dozen Nightmare Dianas, each one representing a timeline where compassion died and conquest flourished. They move with perfect coordination, a killing force honed across infinite failures. Superman positions himself between the invaders and Themyscira's warriors, his heat vision flashing out in precise, non-lethal strikes meant to disable rather than kill. Diana, listen to yourself. You sound like a warrior who finally understands what we should have been. The Dark Wonder rises into the air, meeting Superman eye to eye, close enough that he can see the dark matter swirling in her pupils like captured galaxies. I ruled the Dark Multiverse, Cal. I conquered 17 nightmare Earths and brought them actual peace, not the fragile illusion you maintain through constant vigilance and prayer that villains might reform. I executed the Jokers. I shattered the Luthors. I ground Darkseid's forces to dust. And do you know what I discovered? She leans closer, her voice dropping to something almost tender, almost like the friend he remembers. The screaming stopped. The death stopped. Peace, Clark, real peace. The kind you're too afraid to create because it requires the strength to make hard choices. Cyborg materializes beside Superman via a boom tube, his arm cannon already charging. Diana's neural patterns are heavily corrupted, Victor Stone reports, his mechanical eye scanning the Dark Wonder's energy signature. The Dark Multiverse isn't just affecting her mind, it's rewriting her on a fundamental level. Whatever made her Diana is still in there, but it's drowning in. His scanner spikes, alarm screaming. Clark, move. The Dark Wonder's fist crashes into Superman's jaw with a force that shatters the sound barrier 3 times over. The Man of Steel rockets backward, smashing through 2 marble columns and leaving a crater in Themyscira's sacred ground. She's always been strong. The Trinity are equals in different ways, but this is something more. This is divine power corrupted and amplified by the dark matter that fuels nightmare realities. "I don't want to hurt you, Clark," the Dark Wonder says as she descends on him, her god-enslaver sword crackling with dark energy. "Kneel now. Submit to the new order. I promise you'll still save people, under my guidance, under proper authority. No more endless battles, no more impossible choices, just service to a power that will actually fix this broken multiverse." Superman rises from the crater, wiping ichor from his split lip, Kryptonian blood, proof that her corruption grants strength enough to harm even him. "The Diana I know would never ask anyone to kneel. The Diana you knew was a fool." The sword comes down in an arc meant to sever his head from his shoulders. Superman catches the blade between his palms, the dark energy burning even his invulnerable skin. They struggle, God against alien, truth against corruption, and for the first time in years, Superman feels genuinely afraid, not for himself, but for what his friend has become. Green Lantern John Stewart materializes behind the Dark Wonder, his ring constructing emerald chains of pure willpower to bind her arms. "Diana, I don't know what happened to you in that place, but we're not giving up on you. The League doesn't leave people behind, even when." The lasso of submission snakes out faster than thought, wrapping around John's construct and shattering it like glass. The willpower that fuels his ring meets the absolute dominion that defines her corrupted lasso, and dominion wins. The lasso continues its path, coiling around John's throat, and suddenly the veteran Green Lantern is on his knees, ring falling from nerveless fingers, while crushed beneath the weight of divine tyranny. "Serve," the Dark Wonder commands, and John Stewart's eyes go vacant as his mind rewrites itself to worship the Conqueror. "No," Cyborg's sonic cannon fires at full power, a blast designed to disrupt energy signatures without causing permanent harm. The Dark Wonder raises one bracelet and absorbs the attack, her armor pulsing brighter with stolen energy. Then she's moving, faster than Cyborg's processors can track, and her fist drives through his chassis hard enough to crack the mother box at his core. Victor Stone collapses, systems failing, barely conscious enough to transmit one message before his comm systems die. "Batman, Protocol Diana, insufficient. She's too strong." Superman catches Cyborg before he hits the ground, cradling his friend's broken body while staring at Diana in horror. In 30 seconds, she's defeated 2 League members and forced Superman himself into a defensive position. This isn't just power. This is tactical genius combined with zero restraint, warrior skill without heroic limitation. "You're holding back," the Dark Wonder observes, hovering above him like a dark angel. "Still hopping you won't have to hurt me. Still believing in redemption and second chances. That weakness is why you'll lose, Clark. That weakness is why the Justice League fails every time a real threat emerges. You have the power of gods, but the conviction of children playing at justice." Behind her, the Themyscira's defenders are falling. The Dark Amazons fight with lethal efficiency, and while Hippolyta's warriors are skilled, they're warriors for peace-facing soldiers bred for conquest. The Queen herself remains bound, forced to watch her daughter destroy everything the Amazons built over 3 millennia. Superman gently sets Cyborg down and rises to his full height, heat vision beginning to glow in his eyes. "Diana, I'm going to save you from yourself, even if it means fighting you with everything I have, even if it means..." "Killing me?" she laughs, and the sound echoes across the battlefield like thunder before a storm. "You won't, you can't, because despite everything you still see your friend when you look at me. You still hope that the real Diana will surface, will fight the corruption, will return to stand beside you." Her expression softens into something almost pitying. "But I am the real Diana, Cal. For the first time in my existence, I'm the Amazon warrior I was always meant to be, uncompromised by human weakness, unburdened by false mercy. The Diana you knew was the corruption. I am the cure." She raises her hand, and reality itself begins to tear. Another breach opens above the Themyscira, wider than before, and through it pours an army that makes Superman's invulnerable heart skip. Dark Superman, nightmare versions of himself from timelines where hope died and power became tyranny. Dark flashes vibrating with corrupt speed force energy. Dark green lanterns whose rings glow black with dominion instead of green with will. An entire legion of fallen heroes, each one led to damnation by the Dark Wonder's philosophy of peace through absolute conquest. I didn't come to prime Earth with just my Amazons, the Dark Wonder explains as her army assembles behind her. I came with every hero from every Dark Multiverse timeline who learned what you refuse to accept, that the only way to save the multiverse is to rule it. We are the Justice Lords perfected. We are what the Injustice Superman should have become. We are warriors without weakness, and we are going to save your world from itself. Superman's calm crackles to life. Batman's voice, tight with controlled fury, "Clark, get out of there. Now, I'm reading dimensional signatures consistent with an invasion force," Superman confirms, his voice hollow. "Bruce, she's not alone. She has an army, and they're all us, corrupted versions of the League from Dark Multiverse timelines." Silence on the comm. Then, pull back to the watchtower. We're activating Protocol Final Dawn. The Dark Wonder's enhanced hearing catches Batman's words and her smile widens. "Ah, Bruce, always prepared, always paranoid. I wonder which protocol he designed to kill me. Probably something elegant, precise. I look forward to seeing it fail." She snaps her fingers and a dark flash. This one female, her costume cracking with black lightning, appears beside Superman in a burst of corrupt speed force energy. Before he can react, she's wrapped her arms around him and vibrated both of them through dimensions. Superman feels reality twist, feels the Dark Multiverse trying to pull him in, feels himself beginning to come apart at the quantum level. Then green energy erupts around him, not from Jon Stewart's ring, but from space itself. The Green Lantern Corps arrives, 24 lanterns including Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner, their combined willpower creating a construct cage around the Dark Flash and forcing her to release Superman before the dimensional vibration kills him. "Diana, stand down." Hal Jordan's voice carries the authority of a man who's faced universal threats and survived. "The Guardians have authorized lethal force if necessary. Don't make us." "Make you what? Kill an Amazon princess, destroy a founding member of the Justice League." The Dark Wonder rises higher, her army spreading across the Masira like a plague. "The Guardians of Oa couldn't stop Parallax. They couldn't stop the Sinestro Corps. What makes you think they can stop me?" She raises the God-Enslaver sword, and it begins to glow with energy that makes reality itself recoil. "I have conquered fear. I have shattered hope. I have broken my will itself." The emotional spectrum is meaningless before absolute power, and I have walked through the Dark Multiverse's heart and emerged as its rightful empress. The sword comes down, and a wave of dark energy erupts outward in all directions. Green Lantern constructs shatter like glass. Heroes are thrown from the sky. The island of the Masira cracks down its center, ancient stone splitting under the weight of corrupted divinity. And as Superman struggles to rise, as the core regroups, as the Masira burns, the Dark Wonder opens her arms wide and addresses not just those present, but the entire world through every broadcast signal, every communication system, every screen on Prime Earth. "People of Earth," her voice echoes across the planet with divine authority. "I am Diana of the Masira, Princess of the Amazons, and I have returned from the Dark Multiverse with the solution to all your suffering. Your heroes have failed you. They imprison villains who escape to kill again. They hold back in the name of mercy while you bury your dead. They speak of hope while your cities burn and your children cry in fear. No more." Her eyes blaze with conviction that could move worlds. "I offer you true peace, the peace of order, of security, of a world where evil is not imprisoned but eradicated. Surrender to my rule, and I promise you will never know fear again. Resist, and I will teach you the same lesson I taught 17 Dark Earths, that freedom without order is merely chaos with a prettier name." The broadcast ends, and Earth holds its collective breath. In the Batcave, Bruce Wayne stares at multiple screens showing global reactions. Panic, riots. Some celebrate hoping Diana's dark promise might be true. Others are preparing to fight. The world is fracturing and they haven't even begun the real battle. She's right about one thing, Batman says quietly to the assembled heroes. Flash, Aquaman, Zatanna, Constantine, and 24 others who have answered the emergency summons. We do hold back. We do believe in redemption. And right now, that belief might cost us everything. He turns to face them, and in his eyes is the terrible calculation of a man forced to target his own family. Protocol Diana was designed to neutralize Wonder Woman if she ever became compromised. It requires exploiting her greatest strengths as weaknesses, her warrior's honor, her compassion, her unwavering belief in truth. His voice drops to something raw and broken. It was never meant to stop a Diana who has abandoned all three. The Flash speaks the question everyone is thinking, then how do we stop her? Batman's answer is delivered with the cold certainty of a man who has already accepted the unacceptable. We kill her, or we die trying. There is no third option. The watchtower becomes a war room. 47 heroes crowd into the conference chamber. Every available Justice League member, every Titan willing to fight, every vigilante who answered Batman's call. On the central holographic display, real-time footage shows the Dark Wonder's forces spreading across Earth like a methodical plague. Themyscira has fallen completely, its warriors either corrupted by the lasso of submission or imprisoned in their own dungeons. The Dark Amazons have established beachheads in 12 major cities: Metropolis, Gotham, Central City, Coast City, and 8 others. They don't destroy infrastructure or slaughter civilians. That would be wasteful. Instead, they offer the same choice Diana broadcast to the world: submit and know peace, or resist and be conquered. The terrifying truth that makes Batman's jaw clench is how many are choosing submission. In Metropolis, 3,000 civilians knelt before a dark Superman who promised an end to Brainiac's attacks, to Darkseid's invasions, to the constant threat that comes with living in a world of gods and monsters. In Gotham, crime rates dropped 70% in 6 hours as criminals either fled or surrendered to Dark Amazons who promised swift justice, not imprisonment, not rehabilitation, but permanent solutions. Fear works, tyranny works, and Diana knows it. She's not trying to destroy civilization, Superman says, his voice hoarse from arguing against his own heat vision burns. His fight with Diana on Themyscira left him battered, with a split lip healing slowly even under Earth's yellow sun. She's trying to save it her way. That makes her more dangerous than any villain we've faced. Wonder Woman's mother, Queen Hippolyta, stands among the assembled heroes, her armor scorched and her face carved from grief. She escaped Themyscira through a secret passage known only to the royal line, leaving her island in her daughter's corrupted hands. "My daughter believes what she preaches," Hippolyta says, and every word costs her. In the Dark Multiverse, she saw timelines where her mercy led to apocalypse, where the Joker killed millions, where Ares plunged the world into nuclear war, where Circe transformed humanity into beasts. She witnessed the consequences of compassion and concluded that strength without mercy is the only logical path. Batman pulls up a tactical map showing dimensional breach points. The Dark Multiverse incursions are accelerating. She's not just invading Earth, she's planning to drag sections of our reality into her domain, creating a hybrid universe where she has absolute control. At the current rate, she'll have dimensional anchors established in 48 hours. After that, revering the process becomes impossible. "Then we hit her now," Aquaman states, his trident gleaming with ancient Atlantean power. "Atlantis will not kneel to a tyrant, Amazon princess or not. My people will fight." "Your people will die," John Constantine interrupts, cigarette smoke curling around his scarred face. "I've been to the Dark Multiverse, spent 3 days in a timeline where a dark Dr. Fate consumed the Lords of Order and remade magic into pure dominion. What Diana's become, It's not possession, not mind control. It's evolution. She's what happens when a warrior god decides that free will is humanity's fatal flaw. He stubs out his cigarette with more force than necessary. You can't beat that with armies or weapons. You need magic, and not the pretty kind. Zatanna nods grimly. I've consulted the Book of Eternity. There's a spell, ancient, dangerous, never successfully cast, that could sever Diana's connection to the Dark Multiverse. But it requires anchoring her to something stronger than corruption, something that reminds her of who she truly is. The lasso of truth, Batman says immediately. Her original lasso before it became the lasso of submission. If we can get the genuine article, use it on her. She destroyed it, Hippolyta's voice breaks. When she first fell to darkness, her lasso tried to compel her to see the truth of what she was becoming. She shattered it rather than face herself. The pieces scattered across the Dark Multiverse. The room falls silent as hope crumbles a little more. Flash breaks the quiet with the desperate optimism of a man who's outrun death itself. Then we retrieve the pieces. I can phase through dimensional barriers using the Speed Force. Give me coordinates, and I'll run through the Dark Multiverse. And be corrupted within minutes, Batman cuts him off. The Dark Multiverse twists everything it touches. You'd return as Dark Flash, and we'd have two problems instead of one. He turns to the assembled heroes, and in his eyes is the terrible calculus of a general who knows this battle will cost everything. We need to divide our forces. Team 1 defends Earth's population centers from the Dark Legion. Team 2 retrieves the lasso fragments from the Dark Multiverse. Team 3 engages Diana directly and keeps her occupied long enough for the spell to be prepared. Team 3 is a suicide mission, Superman says quietly. Yes, Batman doesn't flinch from the truth. Diana is operating at full divine capacity amplified by Dark Multiverse energy. She's faster than Clark, stronger than me, and more skilled than both of us combined. She's also carrying weapons forged in nightmare timelines specifically designed to kill gods. Whoever faces her directly won't survive without. The watchtower shudders violently, alarms screaming across every system. Red emergency lights flood the conference room as Cyborg, barely repaired, Mother Box still crackling with unstable energy, materializes in the center of the assembly. She's here, Victor gasps, his voice distorted by damaged vocal processors. Diana's breaching the watchtower. She's coming for. The north wall explodes inward in a shower of reinforced metal and shattered technology. Through the breach, wreathed in dark energy that makes reality ripple like disturbed water, the Dark Wonder steps into the watchtower with the casual confidence of a conqueror, inspecting her future domain. She's not alone. Behind her float three of her most powerful converts. A dark Superman whose costume has been recolored black and silver, his eyes burning with red heat vision that never stops glowing. A dark Martian manhunter whose green skin has turned to something like obsidian, telepathic power, radiating from him in waves that make weaker minds scream. And a dark Hawkgirl, her wings spread wide and dripping with the blood of 1,000 conquered worlds, her mace crackling with nth metal corrupted into something that kills rather than resurrects. Hello, old friends, the Dark Wonder greets them, and her smile is the saddest thing in the room, genuine affection twisted into condescending pity. I knew you'd gather here. I knew you'd plot and plan and convince yourselves that there's still hope of stopping me, of redeeming me, of pulling your fallen sister back from darkness. She walks forward, and heroes instinctively step back despite themselves. So I came to offer you one final chance. Kneel now. Join the new order. Help me build a multiverse where children don't watch their parents die, where cities don't burn under supervillain attacks, where peace isn't a prayer but a guarantee. Superman steps forward, positioning himself between Diana and the assembled heroes. Diana, please. Whatever the Dark Multiverse showed you, whatever you think you learned, it's not too late. We can help you. We can. Save me? Her laugh is gentle and devastating. "Oh, Cal, I am saved. For the first time since I left the Messira to join man's world, I'm not compromised by sentiment or weakened by doubt. I know my purpose with absolute clarity." She raises the God-Enslaver sword and dark lightning crackles along its edge. "I'm going to save the multiverse, one conquered Earth at a time. You can either help me or I'll conquer you too, reprogram your minds with my lasso, and you'll help me anyway. The outcome is inevitable. I'm simply offering you the dignity of choosing your surrender." Batman's hand moves to his utility belt with practiced casualness, fingers brushing against a device he prayed he'd never use. Kryptonite synthesized from dark multiverse matter, calibrated not for Superman but for Diana's divine physiology. Protocol Diana, designed for the hero he once called a friend. The Dark Wonder's eyes track the movement. "Really, Bruce? Poison. From you, I expected something more elegant." She moves faster than thought, crossing 20 feet in a microsecond, her hand closing around Batman's wrist with crushing force before he can deploy the weapon. Bones crack audibly. "You taught me to read my opponents, to anticipate their moves before they make them. Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for every contingency you might use against me?" She yanks him forward and slams him through the conference table, wood and metal shattering under the impact. Batman doesn't scream. He never does, but blood sprays from his mouth as ribs crack and internal injuries blossom. "Diana!" Superman's heat vision lances out at full power, twin beams of concentrated solar energy hot enough to cut through tank armor. The Dark Wonder raises one bracelet, and the heat vision bends around her like water around stone, the energy absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. "Still holding back, Clark," she observes sadly. "Still hopping. You won't have to hurt me. That weakness will be the death of you." She closes the distance between them in a blink, and suddenly they're locked in combat that shakes the Watchtower to its foundation. Superman versus Wonder Woman, a fight they've had in training thousands of times, each knowing the other's capabilities intimately. But training assumed Diana would pull her punches, would fight with honor, would remember that they're allies. The Dark Wonder has no such limitations. Her fist crashes into Superman's solar plexus with force that drives the air from invulnerable lungs. Her knee comes up to meet his descending chin, snapping his head back. The God-Enslaver sword arcs toward his neck, and Superman barely phases to intangibility in time, the blade passing through him and cutting a 10-foot gash in the Watchtower's wall that exposes the void of space beyond. "You've gotten sloppy, Cal," Diana critiques even as she presses the attack. "Too comfortable, too certain of your invulnerability. Let me remind you what it feels like to face someone who can actually hurt you." The sword comes down again, and this time Superman can't dodge. The blade carved from Dark Multiverse nightmares bites into his shoulder, divine corruption mixing with Kryptonian biology in ways that make him scream. Not from pain alone, from the sensation of his cells being rewritten, of darkness trying to corrupt him the way it corrupted Diana. Green Lantern constructs erupt around the Dark Wonder, Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner working in perfect synchronization, creating chains of willpower strong enough to bind gods. For a moment, she's held. For a moment, hope flickers. Then her lasso of submission lashes out, touching each construct. Willpower meets dominion, and dominion doesn't just win, it converts. The green energy turns black, feeding back through the connection to the lanterns themselves. Hal Jordan's eyes widen in horror as he feels his will being dominated, his ring's power turning against him. "Hal, break the connection," Kyle screams, but it's too late. The corruption spreads faster than thought, and suddenly Hal Jordan, veteran Green Lantern, hero who saved the universe more times than he can count, is kneeling before the Dark Wonder with vacant eyes and a black power ring. "I serve the Empress," Hal intones in a voice devoid of personality, and Kyle Rayner's heart breaks watching his friend die without dying. Aquaman charges with his trident raised, the ancient weapon forged by Poseidon himself, channeling the power of all Earth's oceans. The Dark Wonder catches the trident's prongs with her bare hand, and for a moment they're locked in a contest of divine strength. Amazon versus Atlantean, warrior versus king. "Your oceans are meaningless here, Arthur," she says conversationally, as if they're not locked in mortal combat. "In 17 Dark Multiverse timelines, I conquered Atlantis. 14 times by siege, 3 times by diplomacy after I killed you and married your wife. Would you like to know which method proved most efficient?" Rage contorts Aquaman's features, and he pours every ounce of his power into the trident, trying to break her grip. The Dark Wonder simply twists her wrist, and the trident of Poseidon, symbol of Atlantis, weapon of a god, snaps like kindling. The shock on Arthur's face would be comical if it weren't so tragic. His weapon, the source of his authority, destroyed as easily as breaking a toothpick. The Dark Wonder's fist follows the break, crashing into his jaw and sending the king of Atlantis rocketing across the watchtower to crumple unconscious against the far wall. Zatanna begins an incantation, backward speech magic that could unmake reality itself. Denib, Ra'at 8th Gilfo. The Dark Martian manhunter's telepathy slams into Zatanna's mind like a sledgehammer, scrambling her thoughts mid-spell. Magic requires focus, requires clear intention, and Jaeon's corrupted telepathy shreds both. Zatanna collapses, blood running from her nose, the spell broken before it could take hold. Constantine tries to pull her to safety, but the Dark Hawkgirl is there, her nth metal mace swinging for his skull. John barely rolls aside, the weapon cratering the floor where his head was a moment before. "Bloody hell," he snarls, pulling out a vial of holy water blessed by every pantheon he could cajole. "You're really going to make me use the nasty tricks, aren't you?" He hurls the vial, and it explodes against Dark Hawkgirl's chest, blessed water sizzling against corrupted nth metal. She screams, not in pain but in rage, and her wings snap forward, razor-sharp feathers launching like knives. Constantine's protection spells catch most of them, but 3 punch through his wards and bury themselves in his chest. He goes down hard, coughing blood. Flash vibrates into the room, moving at relativistic speeds, trying to phase the Dark Wonder into another dimension. For a microsecond it works, reality bends around her, dimensional barriers beginning to give way. Then her hand shoots out impossibly fast, catching Barry Allen mid-vibration, and she does something with the dark energy coursing through her that makes him scream. The Speed Force rebels against the Dark Multiverse corruption, and Barry feels himself being torn between dimensions, his molecules pulled in different directions, his connection to the Speed Force being severed one strand at a time. The Dark Wonder holds him there, suspended between life and oblivion, and watches with clinical interest as he suffers. "The Speed Force is chaos energy pretending to be purpose," she observes. "Let me show you what true purpose looks like." She releases him, but not before marking him with her dark energy. Barry collapses, his costume smoking, his speed compromised. When he tries to run, he barely manages human velocity. His greatest gift, the power that defines him, was crippled in an instant. Across the watchtower, heroes fall. The Dark Legion fights with perfect coordination, zero hesitation, and absolute conviction. This isn't a battle, it's a demonstration. The Dark Wonder is showing the Justice League exactly how outmatched they are, how futile resistance will be, how inevitable her victory is. Superman struggles to rise, his Kryptonian healing factor fighting the corruption in his cells. He can see Batman trying to crawl toward another weapon, ribs broken but determination unbroken. He can see Hippolyta standing with sword drawn, tears streaming down her face as she prepares to fight her own daughter. He can see dozens of Earth's greatest heroes broken or corrupted or struggling against impossible odds. And standing at the center of it all, untouched and serene, is Diana, his friend, his sister in arms, the hero who once stood for truth and compassion, now the embodiment of tyrannical order. "Do you see now?" The Dark Wonder addresses the room, her voice carrying to every conscious hero. You cannot win. You are warriors playing at heroism, holding back because you fear becoming what you fight. I have no such fear because I have already become it, and I have learned that power without restraint is the only way to protect those too weak to protect themselves. She raises her arms, and the watchtower's walls begin to crack as reality itself bends to her will. Surrender now. Join me willingly, and I'll grant you positions of honor in the new order. Resist further, and I'll simply break you and conscript your service. The choice is yours, but the outcome remains the same. There's always a choice, Superman gasps, forcing himself to his feet despite the corruption burning through him. Even when it seems hopeless, even when it costs everything. That's what being a hero means, Diana. You taught me that. For a moment, just a heartbeat, something flickers in the Dark Wonder's eyes. Something that might be regret, might be doubt, might be the tiniest fragment of the Diana who once stood for hope. Then it's gone, buried under layers of Dark Multiverse certainty and the absolute conviction of a conqueror who has never known defeat. Then you've learned nothing, she says softly and moves to end him. But before she can strike, the Watchtower's emergency teleportation system activates, Batman's failsafe, triggered by a dead man's switch in his utility belt. Green light engulfs Superman, Flash, Constantine, Zatanna, and a dozen other fallen heroes, teleporting them out of the Watchtower to coordinates even the Dark Wonder can't track. She's left standing in the ruins of the Justice League's greatest stronghold, surrounded by her Dark Legion and the corrupted heroes she's claimed as her own. The Watchtower is hers now, Earth's orbital defense compromised, the symbol of hope and justice conquered. The Dark Wonder walks to the observation window and gazes down at Earth spinning below, so fragile, so beautiful, so desperately in need of her salvation. Behind her, Dark Superman speaks in a voice devoid of the warmth that once defined Kal-El. Orders, Empress. Diana smiles, and it's the smile of a general who has already won the war, who's simply allowing her enemies time to realize their defeat. Send word to all planetary leaders. They have 12 hours to surrender their nations to my authority. After that, I will take them by force, and the casualties will be on their conscience, not mine. She turns from the window, cape swirling with dark energy. And find Batman. He's organizing a resistance, which means he has a plan. I want to know what it is before I'm forced to kill him. As her forces mobilize to conquer Earth, in a secret bunker 3 miles beneath Gotham streets, Batman lies on a medical table while Alfred Pennyworth sets his ribs and treats his internal injuries. Around him, the surviving heroes regroup, battered and demoralized but not yet beaten. She took the Watchtower, Superman says, and each word costs him. She broke us in minutes. She showed us what we're up against, Batman corrects through gritted teeth as Alfred injects him with accelerated healing compounds. Now we know. Now we plan accordingly. He looks at the assembled heroes, bloodied, burned, some corrupted, others barely escaped with their lives. Diana is right about one thing we've been holding back. We fight with restraint because we believe in redemption. His eyes, hard as Gotham steel, sweep the room. Against the Dark Wonder, restraint is suicide. If we're going to save her, and save Earth, we need to be willing to cross lines we've never crossed before. You're talking about killing her, Hippolyta says, not a question but a statement of terrible fact. I'm talking about being willing to kill her, Batman clarifies. There's a difference, but yes, if the only way to stop this is to end Diana's life, then that's what we do. Because if she wins, if the Dark Multiverse claims our reality, then everything we've ever fought for becomes meaningless. Freedom, justice, hope, all of it dies, replaced by the peace of submission. The silence that follows is heavy with the weight of a choice no hero wants to make. Then, one by one, they nod. Not with joy, not with certainty, but with the grim acceptance of soldiers who understand that sometimes saving the world requires damning your soul. We need those lasso fragments, Constantine says, lighting another cigarette with shaking hands. It's our only shot at bringing Diana back without killing her." "Then that's Team 2's mission," Batman confirms. "John, Zatanna when she's conscious, and anyone else who can survive the Dark Multiverse long enough to find the pieces and get out." He turns to Superman. "Clark, you're with me. We're going to do something we should have done years ago." "What's that?" Batman's smile is cold and terrible. "We're going to visit the worst villains we've ever faced and ask them how they'd kill Wonder Woman. Because if anyone knows how to destroy a god, it's the monsters we've been holding back from destroying for all these years." Outside the bunker, Earth continues its rotation, unaware that humanity's fate hangs by the thinnest thread, and that the greatest threat it has ever faced wears the face of its most beloved hero. The descent into Arkham Asylum's maximum security wing feels like descending through the circles of hell. Batman and Superman walk side by side through corridors that smell of decay and madness, past cells containing the most dangerous minds humanity has ever produced. Each step takes them deeper into darkness, both literal and metaphorical. They're about to do something that violates every principle they've built their heroism upon. They're going to ask monsters for advice on how to kill their friend. "This is insane," Superman says quietly, his X-ray vision scanning ahead for threats despite knowing Batman has already mapped every possible danger. "These people are the only ones who have come close to killing Diana," Batman interrupts, his voice flat with exhausted pragmatism. "Ares, Cheetah, Circe, genocide. They've studied her weaknesses, exploited her vulnerabilities, learned how to hurt a warrior god because their survival depended on it. We need that knowledge." He doesn't look at Clark, can't meet those eyes that still believe in absolute righteousness. "I know what this costs us. I know what we're becoming. But if we don't stop Diana, she'll do to Earth what she did to 17 Dark Multiverse worlds. Crush free will beneath absolute order. Tell me that's not worse." They reach the cell at the corridor's end. Inside, separated from reality by 6 feet of reinforced titanium and mystic wards strong enough to contain a god, Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva, the cheetah, paces with predatory grace. When she sees her visitors, her inhuman face splits into a smile that shows too many teeth. "Well, well," her voice purrs with satisfaction. "The world's finest come to visit little old me, and looking so desperate. What could drive Batman and Superman to seek counsel from the monster they've imprisoned? Oh, let me guess." Her amber eyes gleam with malicious joy. "Diana's gone bad, hasn't she? The precious princess finally let her warrior nature off its leash." Batman steps forward, hands empty but posture radiating controlled menace. "Diana has been corrupted by the Dark Multiverse. She's leading an invasion force and offering the world a choice between submission and conquest. We need to know how to stop her. You've fought her for years. You know her weaknesses." Cheetah laughs, the sound echoing off stone walls like breaking glass. "Stop her. You can't stop Diana, you fools. I've tried for a decade, every trap, every ambush, every divine weapon I could steal or corrupt. She's faster than Superman, stronger than most gods, and skilled enough to beat Batman in single combat without her powers." She leans against the cell wall, claws clicking against titanium. "But you're not asking how to stop her, are you? You're asking how to kill her." "Yes," Superman says, and the word cost him everything. The cheetah's smile widens impossibly. Finally, you heroes admit what I've always known, that sometimes the only solution is death. Very well. I'll tell you Diana's weakness, the one thing that can end her permanently. But first, I want something in return." "You're not negotiating from a position of strength," Batman growls. "Aren't I?" Cheetah taps one claw against her cell's mystical barrier. "I could stay silent. Let Diana conquer your world. Hell, she might even free me. Tyrants love converting their enemies into loyal servants. Or," she leans forward conspiratorially, "you could promise me that when this is over, when Diana is dead or saved, you'll let me hunt her one more time. Fair fight. No interruptions. Just the Amazon and the cheetah settling what we started years ago." "Never," Superman states flatly. "Then enjoy watching your world burn." Batman's hand closes on Superman's arm before the argument can escalate. "We'll consider it," he says, each word carefully measured. "Tell us what we need to know first." Cheetah studies him with the calculating patience of an apex predator. Then, Diana's invulnerability comes from divine blessing, gifts from the Greek pantheon. Demeter's strength, Athena's wisdom, Artemis's hunting prowess, Aphrodite's beauty, Hestia's sacred fire, Hermes' speed. But blessings can be revoked. If you could sever her connection to the Olympians, she'd become mortal, killable. She examines her claws with affected casualness. Of course, the Olympians are notoriously difficult to contact. Most of them abandoned Earth after the last reality restructure. But there's one who never left, Ares, god of war. He's imprisoned in Zeus's thunderbolt, stored in the Watchtower's mystical vault. Batman's expression doesn't change, but his mind races. The Watchtower Diana now controls. "What a convenient coincidence," Cheetah purrs. "You'll have to infiltrate the station, steal the Thunderbolt, free Ares, and convince him to help you strip his sister's divine powers, all while Diana hunts you with her Dark Legion. Oh, and there's a catch: Ares will demand payment. God of War doesn't work for free. He'll want something that feeds conflict, something that guarantees future bloodshed. Maybe a war, maybe a death. Maybe he'll demand one of you sacrifice yourselves to fuel his power." Her smile is viciously satisfied. "Still think asking monsters for help was a good idea, heroes." They leave without promising her anything, but both know they'll pay whatever price Ares demands if it means saving Diana and stopping the invasion. As they walk back through Arkham's depths, Superman breaks the heavy silence. "We're making deals with gods and monsters. We're planning to strip Diana of her divinity, leave her vulnerable to death. Bruce, we're crossing every line we swore we'd never." "We crossed those lines the moment we admitted we might have to kill her," Batman interrupts. "Everything after that is just logistics." He stops walking, finally meeting Superman's eyes. "You want me to say this is still heroism, that we're still the good guys? I can't. But I can tell you that if we don't do this, Diana will conquer Earth, convert or kill everyone who resists, and drag chunks of our reality into the Dark Multiverse where hope goes to die. Those are the stakes. Choose accordingly." Before Superman can respond, both heroes' comms crackle with Flash's urgent voice. "Batman, Superman, we've got a situation at the Hall of Justice. Diana's forces are executing Protocol Olympus. She's not waiting 12 hours. She's starting the planetary conquest now." They're moving before Flash finishes speaking, Superman's flight carrying them both toward Washington, D.C. at speeds that make sound barriers irrelevant. As they fly, Batman's tactical mind processes the next moves. Infiltrate the Watchtower, free Ares, negotiate with a god who thrives on conflict. Every step takes them further from heroism and deeper into moral compromise. Below them, cities begin to burn. In the Dark Multiverse's screaming heart, Constantine and Zatanna step through a dimensional portal and immediately regret every choice that led them here. The Dark Multiverse doesn't follow physics as Prime Earth understands them. Reality bends wrong, time flows in multiple directions simultaneously, and the very air tastes like despair given substance. They stand on an island of stability, relatively speaking, surrounded by an ocean of liquid darkness that whispers promises of power and oblivion in equal measure. The fragments of Diana's original lasso should be scattered across failed timelines where she fell to darkness, Zatanna says, consulting a grimoire that screams whenever she turns its pages. Her backward speech magic is the only thing keeping them anchored to sanity in a place designed to corrupt and consume. According to this, there's a fragment in timeline Omega 7 where Diana killed Superman and became the dictator of Earth. Another in timeline Sigma 12 where she joined Darkseid and helped him conquer the universe. And a third in timeline where she never left the Messiera and let the world burn, Constantine finishes, pointing to where reality fractures like broken glass, each shard showing a different nightmare. "I can feel them. The fragments are calling out, trying to reform. Problem is, Every Diana in those timelines will sense us the moment we arrive. We'll be walking into worlds where the Dark Wonder has already won. Zatanna's jaw sets with determination that would make her Justice League teammates proud. Then, we'd better be faster than gods. They step through the first fracture into timeline Omega 7, and immediately, the world tries to kill them. This Earth is ruled by an Empress Diana who wears Superman's cape as a trophy, his S shield carved into her armor as a reminder of the day she chose power over friendship. The sky is perpetually red, not from sunset, but from the kryptonite dust she spread across the atmosphere to ensure no Kryptonian could ever challenge her reign. Cities stand in perfect order, their inhabitants moving with the synchronized precision of minds controlled by the lasso of submission. "She's not here," Zatanna whispers, her magical senses reaching out. "The Empress is on the other side of the planet executing dissidents. We have maybe 15 minutes before." A boom tube opens 30 feet away, and through it steps this timeline's Batman, or what's left of him. He wears Diana's colors, his cowl branded with her symbol, his eyes vacant with absolute submission. Behind him march a dozen more corrupted heroes, all serving the Empress with zealous devotion. "Trespassers detected," Timeline Omega 7 Batman intones in a voice scraped clean of personality. "Empress Diana demands your surrender." Constantine's response is to hurl a curse that would make demons weep, dark magic pulled from timelines even more corrupt than this one, shaped by decades of conning devils and walking away alive. The curse strikes Batman's chest and should have torn his soul from his body. Instead, it splashes harmlessly against invisible protection, the Empress's blessing, shielding her servants from mystical attack. "Bugger," Constantine mutters, already pulling out a backup plan involving blood, salt, and words that haven't been spoken since the Third Crusade. Zatanna's backward speech cuts through the air. "Denib 8 as Denim Fo 8 Detbarak." The spell lashes out, trying to free the corrupted Batman from his mental prison. For a moment, just a heartbeat, clarity returns to his eyes. He sees what he's become, sees the world his submission helped create, and the horror is enough to make him scream. Then the Empress's control reasserts itself, crushing his momentary freedom like an ant beneath a boot. He collapses, blood running from his nose and ears, but still reaching for his utility belt, still trying to serve even as his mind tears itself apart. "We need that fragment now," Constantine shouts, mystical defenses barely holding against attacks from a dozen corrupted heroes. "I can feel the Empress coming. She's moving at divine speed. We've got seconds." Zatanna closes her eyes, magical senses diving deep into this timeline's corrupted history, following the thread of truth back to its source. There, beneath the Empress's palace, in a vault sealed with dark magic and divine power, a fragment of the original lasso of truth pulses with desperate hope, the last piece of Diana's uncorrupted soul crying out for salvation. "Under the palace," Zatanna gasps, "but the Empress will reach us before." "Then we teleport to the vault, grab the fragment, and get the bloody hell out," Constantine interrupts, already drawing the necessary sigils in the air with movements that blur from desperate speed. "Ready." "Never." They vanish in a flash of backward speech magic, reappearing in the vault an instant before the Empress crashes through the palace roof with the fury of an avenging angel denied her prey. The fragment glows in its crystalline prison, 6 inches of golden rope that remembers truth, remembers compassion, remembers the hero Diana was before darkness claimed her. Constantine smashes the crystal with a magically reinforced fist, ignoring the defensive wards that burn his flesh, and grabs the fragment. It screams in his hand, not with sound, but with pure emotional resonance, the psychic weight of Diana's uncorrupted nature trying to reassert itself through the fragment. Above them, the Empress's voice shakes the foundations of reality. "Thieves, you dare steal from your goddess." "Not our goddess, love," Constantine shouts back, pulling Zatanna close as she begins the dimensional escape spell. Just a bird who lost her way. We're bringing her home. They phase between realities as the Empress's fist craters the floor where they stood, her rage following them through dimensional barriers, trying to drag them back into her nightmare world. But Zatanna's magic holds, and they tumble back into the Dark Multiverse's neutral space with one fragment secured, and 12 minutes shaved off both their lifespans. 2 more to go, Zatanna pants, her magical reserves dangerously depleted, and each timeline will be worse than the last. Constantine examines the fragment, feeling its warmth, its desperate desire to reunite with its other pieces and restore the truth that Diana once embodied. Then, we'd better hurry, because I can feel the Dark Wonder's attention turning our way. She knows someone's trying to undo her corruption, and she's not going to let that happen without a fight. They step through the next fracture, into Timeline Sigma 12, where Diana kneels at Darkseid's feet as his war queen, and the screaming intensifies. On Prime Earth, the Hall of Justice has become a war zone. The Dark Wonder floats above the building's ruins, her Dark Legion systematically dismantling Earth's heroes in demonstrations of overwhelming power. This isn't a conquest, it's theater. She's showing the world that resistance is futile, that their greatest defenders are children playing with weapons they don't understand. A dark flash races through defenders at speeds that turn human bodies into obstacles to be shattered. A dark green lantern constructs chains of black willpower that crush rather than contain. And Dark Superman, eyes burning with heat vision that never stops firing, carves through the hall's defenses like they're made of paper. People of Earth, the Dark Wonder's voice broadcasts across every communication system on the planet, witness the fate of those who choose resistance over surrender. Your heroes fight bravely, they fight with honor, and they lose because honor without power is merely nobility in defeat. She gestures and Dark Superman drags Wonder Girl forward, Cassie Sandsmark, Diana's own protege, bloodied and beaten but defiant to the end. I offer mercy one final time. Kneel and your cities will be spared. Resist and they will burn. You have 1 hour to decide. In the bunker beneath Gotham, Batman watches the broadcast with eyes that calculate 1,000 strategies and reject them all as insufficient. Beside him, Superman's hands clench into fists that could shatter mountains, impotent rage warring with strategic helplessness. We can't fight her head-on, Batman states, each word carved from stone. Every confrontation ends with our forces corrupted or killed. We need the Thunderbolt. We need Ares. It's the only play we have left. Then we infiltrate the Watchtower, Superman agrees, his voice hollow with exhausted determination. But Bruce, when this is over, if we survive, we're going to have a very long conversation about what we've become. Batman's response is interrupted by a dimensional portal opening in the bunker's center. Through it stumble Constantine and Zatanna, both looking like they've aged a decade in an hour, clutching a golden rope fragment that pulses with barely contained hope. "We got one," Constantine gasps, collapsing against the wall and immediately lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. 2 more to go, and they're in timelines that make the first 2 look like bloody paradise. But he holds up the fragment, and everyone in the bunker can feel it, can sense the purity of truth radiating from something Diana touched before darkness claimed her. This might actually work. If we can get all 3 pieces, if Zatanna can cast the reunion spell, we might be able to anchor Diana's soul to who she was before the corruption. "How long?" Batman demands. 4 hours to rest, recover my magic, and make 2 more runs into timelines specifically designed to break hope, Zatanna says, her voice ragged but determined. Then another hour to prepare the spell, assuming I survive long enough to cast it. Batman's tactical mind processes the timeline, comparing it against Diana's deadline for planetary conquest. Diana gave Earth 1 hour to surrender. After that, she'll begin systematically conquering cities. We need to accelerate. Can't rush this, mate, Constantine interrupts. Dark Multiverse will eat you alive if you're not prepared. Zatanna's already running on fumes. Push too hard and she'll be corrupted before she recovers the second fragment. Then we've lost our only magician capable of casting the reunion spell, and Diana wins by default. The weight of impossible choices presses down on everyone present. Risk Zatanna to accelerate the timeline, or let Diana conquer more of Earth while they prepare properly. Heroism or pragmatism, hope or calculated sacrifice. Superman breaks the deadlock. Batman and I will buy you time. We'll infiltrate the Watchtower, free Ares, and find a way to slow Diana's invasion. 4 hours, John. Make them count. As Superman and Batman prepare for a mission that will almost certainly kill them. As Constantine and Zatanna rest before diving back into nightmares. As Earth's hour of decision ticks down with merciless inevitability, the Dark Wonder stands atop the Hall of Justice's ruins and watches the planet she's sworn to save. Behind her, Hippolyta materializes, not the broken queen who escaped the Themyscira, but this timeline's version, corrupted by the lasso of submission and remade into Diana's most loyal general. The hour expires, my empress, corrupted Hippolyta reports with mechanical devotion. Earth's governments refuse to surrender. 37 nations have mobilized military forces. The resistance grows rather than crumbles. The Dark Wonder's expression doesn't change, but something in her eyes, something that might still remember what it means to be disappointed in humanity, flickers briefly. Then we teach them the price of defiance. Begin Protocol Amazonia. Target the 10 largest population centers. No killing, I'm not a monster. But everyone in those cities will kneel before sunrise, their wills rewritten, their resistance eliminated. When the rest of Earth sees millions of their people bowing to our authority, when they understand that submission means safety and resistance means conversion, they'll make the logical choice. And if they still resist, the Dark Wonder turns to face her corrupted mother, and her smile is the saddest thing in the multiverse. Then I'll save them anyway. Salvation doesn't require consent, Mother. It never did. As the Dark Legion mobilizes for the largest mass conversion in human history, as Batman and Superman prepare to steal divine fire and make deals with war gods, as Constantine and Zatanna ready themselves to dive back into darkness, Earth's fate hangs suspended in the moment before the fall, that terrible instant when everything can still be saved or everything can be lost. And the only thing separating salvation from damnation is the choices made by flawed heroes fighting against impossible odds. The clock ticks down. Diana's forces move into position, and somewhere in the Dark Multiverse's screaming depths, the remaining fragments of the lasso of truth pulse with desperate hope, waiting for heroes brave enough or foolish enough to claim them. Time is running out for Earth, for Diana, for hope itself. The Watchtower floats in orbital silence, a monument to heroism corrupted into a fortress of dominion. Batman and Superman approach through the debris field of destroyed satellites, Earth's communication network, systematically dismantled by the Dark Legion to isolate the planet and control information flow. They move slowly, using a cloaking device built from apocalyptic technology that Batman has been saving for a crisis exactly like this. The irony isn't lost on either of them, using Darkseid's tools to fight a tyrant who believes she's saving the world. When did the lines between hero and monster become so blurred? The main hangar will be guarded, Batman whispers through their encrypted comm, his voice barely a breath. Diana's paranoid enough to expect infiltration. We'll use the waste disposal port. It's shielded but not monitored closely. 3 minutes to breach, 5 to reach the mystical vault, 2 to extract the thunderbolt. Then we run. Superman nods, but his expression is carved from doubt and exhaustion. The corruption in his shoulder from Diana's sword still burns, Kryptonian cells fighting a losing battle against Dark Multiverse contamination. He's at perhaps 70% capacity, and even that might be optimistic. Bruce, if this goes wrong, If we're captured and she uses that lasso on us? She won't get the chance, Batman interrupts, and from his utility belt produces two pills that gleam with a faint, terrible light. Kryptonite-laced cyanide derivative for you. Concentrated neurotoxin for me. Instantaneous. Painless. If she captures us, if she tries to corrupt us, we end it before she can make us her weapons. The pills sit in Batman's palm like tiny monuments to how far they've fallen. Superman stares at them, remembering a time when suicide contingencies would have been unthinkable, when heroes found another way, when hope meant refusing to accept any scenario as truly hopeless. When did we become this? Superman asks, and the question encompasses everything. The deals with monsters, the willingness to kill, the poison pills, the slow erosion of every principle that made them heroes instead of vigilantes. When Diana became something worse, Batman answers and pockets the pills. We don't use them unless there's no other choice, but we carry them because the alternative is becoming weapons she uses to conquer Earth. They slip through the waste disposal port, Batman's expertise with infiltration and Superman's powers working in perfect synchronization. Inside the watchtower, the lights are different, no longer the clean white of heroic purpose, but a dim crimson that makes everything look like it's drenched in blood. The architecture remains the same, but the atmosphere has fundamentally changed. This is no longer a place of hope. This is a command center for planetary subjugation. They move through corridors Superman could map with his eyes closed, past conference rooms where they once debated saving the world, past training facilities where Diana taught him Amazon combat techniques, past memorial plaques honoring fallen heroes. Each step is a reminder of what they've lost, what Diana has taken from them by choosing darkness over light. The mystical vault lies in the Watchtower's heart, protected by wards designed by Zatanna and Constantine, reinforced with technology from every alien civilization the League has encountered. It was built to contain artifacts too dangerous to destroy: the Pandora's Box, the Book of Destiny, the anti-life equation fragment, and Zeus's thunderbolt, the prison of Ares, god of war. Batman approaches the vault's entrance, fingers flying across the security console with practiced precision. His access codes are years out of date, but he wrote the original security protocols. He knows their weaknesses, their backdoors there. Every alarm in the Watchtower screams to life. She knew, Superman realizes with dawning horror. Diana knew we'd come for the thunderbolt. This is a trap. The corridor behind them seals with blast doors thick enough to contain a nuclear explosion. The corridor ahead does the same. They're boxed in, and through the Watchtower's PA system, Diana's voice carries with the inevitability of divine judgment. "Hello, Bruce. Hello, Clark." Her tone is almost affectionate, like a teacher addressing students who have disappointed her. "Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate your desperation? I've studied your tactics for years. I know how Bruce thinks, 3 layers deep, always with contingencies. And I know how you think, Cal, straightforward action guided by an unshakable moral compass. Together, you're predictable." A pause, and they can hear the smile in her voice. "I've been waiting for you." The vault door opens, but not from Batman's hacking. It opens because Diana wants it open, because she's orchestrating this confrontation, because every move they've made has been part of her design. Inside the vault, the Dark Wonder stands beside Zeus's thunderbolt, one hand resting casually on the divine weapon. Behind her, Dark Superman and Dark Martian Manhunter block any escape route. This isn't a trap, it's an execution chamber. "You came for Ares," Diana says, gesturing to the thunderbolt. "You were going to free him, make some desperate bargain, convince him to strip my divine blessing so I become mortal enough to kill. I'm impressed. It's actually a solid plan. Risky, morally reprehensible, and dependent on trusting a god who thrives on conflict, but solid." She tilts her head, studying them with eyes that have witnessed 17 conquered worlds. "There's just one problem. I freed Ares 2 hours ago." The air beside her shimmers, and from nothing steps a figure that makes Superman's skin crawl with instinctive dread. Ares, god of war, appears as a warrior in Greek armor stained with the blood of 10,000 battlefields. His face shifts between handsome and horrifying, his eyes burning with the fire of eternal conflict. And when he looks at Diana, it's with something disturbingly close to paternal pride. "My dear sister," Ares rumbles, his voice carrying the weight of every war humanity has ever fought. "You've finally embraced your true nature. No more peace-loving princess playing at heroism. Now you're a conqueror, a unifier, a warrior queen who understands that lasting peace only comes through absolute victory." He turns to Batman and Superman, his smile promising violence. "Did you really think I'd help you weaken her? She's doing exactly what I've wanted for millennia, spreading conflict, breaking wills, forcing the strong to dominate the weak. Diana has become war incarnate, and I couldn't be prouder." Batman's mind races, recalculating strategies, but every scenario ends the same way. They're outmaneuvered, outpowered, and out of options. Still, he tries diplomacy, because it's what heroes do even when facing inevitable defeat. Ares, Diana's not spreading conflict, she's eliminating it. She's creating absolute order, total submission. That's the opposite of what you want. Without free will, there's no war, no struggle, no messy, inefficient conflict, Ares agrees cheerfully. Instead, there's the glorious war of conquest, the systematic domination of the weak by the strong. Diana isn't eliminating conflict, she's perfecting it. Rather than thousands of small skirmishes between heroes and villains, she's creating one magnificent campaign. The strong versus the defiant, order versus chaos, the Dark Multiverse's truth versus Prime Earth's delusion. His eyes gleam with anticipation. And when she's finished conquering this reality, she'll move to others. An eternal war of subjugation is spreading across the multiverse. I haven't been this excited since Troy burned. Superman's heat vision begins to glow, desperation overriding tactical sense. "Diana, please, you're not this. You're the hero who taught me that strength without compassion is just tyranny. You're the Amazon who fights for those who can't fight for themselves. I'm a warrior who wasted decades protecting a world that never learned from its mistakes," Diana interrupts. And for the first time, genuine emotion cracks through her imperial facade. Not regret, but frustrated compassion. The anger of someone who believes they're doing what's necessary even though no one understands. "I've watched the Joker escape Arkham 17 times, Clark. 17 times. He's butchered innocence while we congratulated ourselves for taking the moral high ground by not executing him. I've seen Lex Luthor nearly destroy Metropolis a dozen times, always with you showing mercy, always with him returning more dangerous than before. I've witnessed Darkseid invade Earth 4 times, each invasion costing thousands of lives, and each time we drove him back instead of ending him permanently." Her voice rises, powered by absolute conviction. "I learned in the Dark Multiverse what our mercy really is, cowardice disguised as virtue, and I won't be complicit in that cowardice anymore." "So you'll become what we fight," Superman challenges, floating forward despite the danger, despite Dark Superman's warning growl. "You'll be the tyrant, the conqueror, the villain who justifies atrocity with talk of necessary evils." "I'll be the hero who actually saves people," Diana corrects, and her voice carries the terrible weight of someone who genuinely believes their own righteousness. Not the hero who fights endless battles and calls it victory, the hero who ends the war. Batman's hand moves toward his utility belt, not for the cyanide pills, not yet, but for the one weapon he's been holding in reserve. A device built from White Lantern energy, powered by the life equation itself, designed to purge corruption by overwhelming it with pure, undiluted vitality. It's experimental. It's dangerous. It has a 90% chance of killing the user and the target both. It's also their only shot. "Bruce, don't," Superman warns, recognizing the device from the specifications Batman shared months ago. "That thing will kill you." "Better me than Earth," Batman responds and triggers the device. White light erupts from his hand, light so pure it hurts to witness, life energy concentrated to impossible density. It lances toward Diana, seeking the corruption in her cells, trying to burn away the Dark Multiverse's influence through sheer positive force. Diana raises her god-enslaver sword, and the blade absorbs the white energy like a black hole devouring a star. The light bends, twists, and dissipates, nullified by a weapon forged specifically to kill concepts like hope and life. Batman's last desperate gambit fails before it truly begins. "I knew you'd try something like that," Diana says softly, almost regretfully. "You're Batman. You always have one more trick, one more contingency. That's why I had Ares forge this sword, to counter every possible method you might use to fight corruption with purity. Light against darkness sounds poetic, but pragmatically, darkness just needs to be denser." She moves faster than human perception, covering the distance to Batman in a microsecond. Her hand closes around his throat, lifting him off the ground with casual ease. Superman lunges to intervene, but Dark Superman meets him mid-flight, and they crash into the vault wall hard enough to crack reinforced titanium. "I don't want to kill you, Bruce," Diana says, and there's genuine sadness in her voice as she watches Batman struggle in her grip, his armor's strength enhancements meaningless against Amazon might amplified by divine corruption. "You're my friend, my brother in arms. But if you can't be saved, if you can't see that my path is the only path to real peace, then I'll have to remove you from the board. It's not cruelty, it's mercy. A quick death for a warrior who deserves rest after decades of futile struggle." Batman's hand finds the cyanide pill in his belt. One swallow, and Diana can't corrupt him. One moment of courage, and he denies her the weapon of his tactical genius. But his fingers hesitate because despite everything, despite the poison and the willingness to kill, and the deals with gods and monsters, some part of Bruce Wayne still believes in hope, still believes Diana can be saved. That hesitation costs him everything. The lasso of submission wraps around his chest, black energy sinking into his mind like hooks tearing through consciousness. Batman feels his will crumbling, feels his identity being rewritten, feels himself becoming something that serves instead of resists. He tries to fight, draws on every mental discipline he's trained for decades, every meditation technique, every fail-safe. It's not enough. Diana's corruption is too strong, her dominion too absolute. She's broken the will of the gods. Human determination, no matter how impressive, cannot stand against divine tyranny reinforced by the Dark Multiverse's certainty. "Serve," Diana commands, and Batman's resistance shatters like glass. His eyes go vacant. His posture changes from defiant to subservient. And when he speaks, it's with a voice scraped clean of personality, of choice, of everything that made him Bruce Wayne. "I serve the Empress." Superman screams, not in pain, but in soul-deep anguish as he watches his closest friend die without dying. He abandons defense entirely, pouring every ounce of Kryptonian strength into one desperate attack against Dark Superman, breaking free long enough to lunge at Diana with heat vision firing at solar core intensity. Diana catches the heat vision beams in her bracelets, absorbs them, and redirects them back at Superman twice as powerful. The beams punch through his chest, missing his heart by inches but burning through Kryptonian tissue that should be invulnerable. Superman collapses, blood spreading across the vault floor in a pool of red that looks black in the crimson lighting. "Clark," Diana's imperial mask cracks, and for a moment, just a heartbeat, the corruption falters. She drops to her knees beside him, hands hovering over his wounded chest, and in her eyes is genuine horror at what she's done. I didn't mean to. You were attacking and I just reacted and..." "Diana," Superman gasps, blood bubbling at his lips, using his last moments of consciousness to reach for the friend he's losing. "Please, remember who you were. Remember truth and compassion. Remember that hope is..." But the corruption reasserts itself before he can finish. The Dark Wonder's expression hardens, emotion locked away behind certainty, and she stands, leaving Superman bleeding on the floor. Take them both to the medical bay, she orders Dark Martian Manhunter. Heal Superman, he'll serve me better alive. And Bruce. She looks at the corrupted Batman, and something in her gaze might be regret. Integrate him into the command structure. His tactical genius will prove invaluable in the coming campaigns. As her Dark Legion moves to obey, as Superman's consciousness fades into darkness, as Batman stands with vacant eyes awaiting orders from his new empress, Diana walks to the observation window and stares at Earth below. 30 minutes until her deadline expires. 30 minutes until she begins converting 10 cities simultaneously, rewriting millions of minds to accept her rule. 30 minutes until she crosses the line from invasion to absolute conquest. Behind her, Ares laughs with satisfaction. You've won, sister. Earth's greatest heroes are broken or corrupted. The resistance collapses. In hours, you'll control the planet. In days, you'll have secured dimensional anchors to pull chunks of this reality into your dark multiverse domain. You've achieved what no conqueror in history ever managed: victory without question, triumph without challenge. Then why does it feel like defeat? Diana whispers so quietly that even Ares doesn't hear. But she shakes off the doubt, buries it beneath layers of certainty and conviction, and turns from the window. There's work to be done. A world to save, peace to impose, and the fact that it requires crushing every free will on the planet is simply the price of genuine salvation. In the bunker beneath Gotham, Constantine and Zatanna prepare for their final runs into the Dark Multiverse, unaware that Batman and Superman have fallen. The second lasso fragment lies beside the first, both pieces pulsing with desperate hope. One more fragment and they can attempt the reunion spell. One more fragment and they might be able to anchor Diana to her uncorrupted nature. But time is running out faster than they realize. Ready? Constantine asks, drawing sigils in the air with hands that barely shake anymore. 4 hours of rest haven't been enough. They're both operating on fumes, magical reserves dangerously depleted. But they're the last hope, the final play, the desperate gambit that might save Diana and Earth both. No, Zatanna answers honestly, but we're doing this anyway. They step through the dimensional fracture into timeline Epsilon 19, where Diana became the Dark Multiverse's right hand, where she helped Barbados nearly destroy all of reality, where her corruption runs deeper than marrow and darker than void. The timeline greets them with immediate violence. This Diana stands in the ruins of what was once the Watchtower, now rebuilt as a throne of living darkness. Around her, the corpses of every hero who ever resisted her rule hang from chains, not as punishment but as trophies. Batman, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, all dead, all displayed, all serving as reminders that resistance is futile. More thieves, this Diana observes, her voice carrying the casual interest of a god examining insects. Come to steal what's mine, come to undo what I've become. How quaint. She rises from her throne and reality bends around her like a wounded animal. Let me save you the trouble of searching. I know what you want. She holds up the final lasso fragment, golden light struggling against the corruption trying to consume it. This pitiful scrap of my old weakness. The last piece of the hero I used to be before I understood that heroism is just villainy, too cowardly to commit to its convictions. You want it? Come take it. Constantine and Zatanna exchange a glance that communicates volumes. This is the most dangerous Diana they've faced, not because she's powerful, but because she's given up everything, including hope itself. Fighting someone who has nothing left to lose is suicide. They fight anyway. Zatanna's backward speech erupts in syllables that unmake reality, spells that could shatter gods and break worlds. Constantine pulls every dirty trick he's learned from decades of conning devils, throwing curses and hexes and blood magic that would make angels weep. It's not enough. This Diana has walked through darkness so deep that light itself fears to follow. She catches Zatanna's most powerful spell in one hand and crushes it like brittle glass. She deflects Constantine's blood curse with a gesture, sending it back at him amplified. Within seconds, they're on their knees, broken and bleeding, facing their own mortality with the clarity of those who know they've failed. Pathetic, timeline Epsilon 19, Diana pronounces, standing over them with the lasso fragment dangling from her fingers. You really thought you could save her. The Diana of your world is already lost. Every moment she spends in that corrupted armor, every order she gives, every will she breaks, it writes her corruption deeper. Soon she'll be as I am, beyond redemption, beyond salvation, beyond the reach of foolish heroes playing with hope like children with fire. She raises her sword for the killing blow. But Constantine has one last trick, one final desperate play he's been holding in reserve, because using it means damning himself beyond any chance of redemption. He speaks a name, 3 syllables in a language that predates humanity, a word that calls something ancient and terrible and hungry. The first of the fallen answers. Hell's dimension tears open, and from it steps the devil himself, drawn by Constantine's promise of a soul so corrupt it could fuel hell's furnaces for centuries. Timeline Epsilon 19, Diana's soul. John Constantine, the first of the fallen, rumbles with a voice like continents grinding together. You dare summon me for? He sees Diana, sees the corruption saturating her being, sees a soul so dark it makes hell look bright by comparison. His smile could start wars. Oh, this is delicious. Very well, Constantine, you have your deal. Hell itself reaches for timeline Epsilon 19 Diana, not to claim her but to consume her, to devour a corruption so pure it could be weaponized. She fights, and for a moment, reality itself threatens to tear from the strain of devil versus dark god. In that moment, as hell distracts the corrupted Diana, Constantine and Zatanna lunge for the lasso fragment. Their fingers close around golden rope, and immediately they feel it. Truth, compassion, justice, all the virtues Diana embodied before darkness claimed her, compressed into 6 inches of magical thread that screams with the desperate need to reunite with its other pieces. Go! Constantine roars, and Zatanna speaks the dimensional escape spell even as hell's fires consume timeline Epsilon 19 Diana, even as the first of the fallen laughs with satisfaction, even as the timeline begins to collapse from the strain of divine and demonic powers clashing. They tumble back into the Dark Multiverse's neutral space with the final fragment, the third piece, the last component needed for the reunion spell. Both are burned, bleeding, their magical reserves completely depleted. Constantine's soul carries a new mark, the price of summoning hell itself. Zatanna's voice is hoarse from spells that should have killed her. But they have all 3 pieces. Time to go home, Constantine gasps, pulling Zatanna close as she begins the final dimensional jump. Time to save a god or die trying. They phase back into Prime Earth's bunker just as Diana's deadline expires. Through the screens, they can see the Dark Legion moving in 10 cities simultaneously. They can see millions of people facing the choice between submission and conversion. They can see Earth's last hour before absolute conquest. We need to cast the spell now, Zatanna says, assembling the 3 lasso fragments with shaking hands. I'm running on fumes, my magic's barely holding together, and this spell requires perfection. If I fail... You won't, says a voice from the bunker's entrance. They turn to see Dr. Fate floating there, the helmet of Nabu gleaming with ancient power. Beside him stands Constantine's old friend, Swamp Thing, the Parliament of Trees avatar, radiating green magic that smells of life and growth. And behind them 12 other magic users, Phantom Stranger, Madame Xanadu, Etrigan the Demon, Raven, and more. The magical community doesn't abandon its own, Dr. Fate intones, his voice layered with Nabu's ancient authority. Diana of the Masira may have fallen to darkness, but she's still one of us, chosen by gods, blessed by magic, a hero who deserves one last chance at redemption. The helmet tilts toward the assembled fragments. We will lend our power to the reunion spell. Zatanna will not face this burden alone. Hope, real, genuine, impossible hope, flickers in the bunker's depths. How long to prepare? Constantine demands, already moving toward the teleportation system. Because we need to get those fragments to Diana, press them against her corrupted lasso, and cast the spell before she realizes what we're doing. Which means someone has to get close to the most powerful being on the planet while she's actively conquering it. That would be me, says Queen Hippolyta, stepping forward with her sword drawn and eyes burning with a mother's desperate love. I'll get close to my daughter. I'll hold her attention. I'll give you the opening you need. Her voice cracks but doesn't break. And if the spell fails, if Diana truly is beyond salvation, then I'll be the one to end her, a mother's final mercy. The weight of that sacrifice settles over everyone present. But there's no time for speeches, no time for doubt. Diana's forces move across the globe. Batman and Superman have fallen. Earth's last chance is a spell that's never been successfully cast, powered by depleted magicians, requiring one mother to face her corrupted daughter with a knife aimed at both their hearts. 30 minutes, Dr. Fate calculates. 30 minutes to reach Diana, engage her attention, and hold her still long enough for the spell to complete. Can you give us 30 minutes? Hippolyta's smile is carved from grief and steel. I raised that girl, trained her, loved her. If anyone can hold Diana's attention for 30 minutes, it's the mother who knows every story she told herself as a child, every fear she hid, every dream she chased. She grips her sword tighter. I'll give you your 30 minutes. Just make sure the spell works, because I don't want to kill my daughter, but I will if I must. That's what mothers do. They protect the world from their children's darkness, even if it costs them everything. As the magic users begin assembling the spell, as Hippolyta prepares to teleport to her daughter's location, as Earth's fate hangs by a thread spun from hope and desperation, across the planet, millions of people face their moment of choice. Kneel or resist, submit or be converted, accept the dark wonder's promise of peace through dominion, or fight for freedom knowing it might cost everything. In Metropolis, civilians see the Dark Legion descending, and some kneel while others run, and a brave few stand defiant with improvised weapons, ready to die free rather than live subjugated. In Gotham, criminals who have terrorized the city for years face Amazon warriors who promise an end to crime through absolute force, and some surrender, while others fight. Commissioner Gordon stands between both sides, trying to find a third option that doesn't exist. In Central City, the Flash's rogues, villains who have spent years fighting heroes without killing them, face dark Flashes who show no such restraint, and Captain Cold makes a choice to stand with humanity rather than kneel to gods, because even villains have principles. Across Earth, in 1,000 cities and 1,000,000 moments, humanity faces its defining test. What price for peace? What is the cost of safety? Is freedom worth dying for, or is submission the rational choice when facing overwhelming power? And in orbit above it all, the Dark Wonder watches with eyes that have forgotten how to weep, preparing to rewrite millions of minds in the name of salvation, unaware that below her, hope is assembling its final gambit. The spell is ready, the mother is prepared, the lasso fragments pulse with desperate truth. Everything comes down to the next 30 minutes. Either Diana will be saved, pulled back from darkness by the truth of who she once was, anchored to heroism by love and magic and hope. Or she'll break her mother's heart one final time, and Earth will fall to the peace of absolute dominion, freedom traded for safety, hope sacrificed for certainty. The clock counts down. The battle for Diana's soul and Earth's future begins now. The reunion spell ignites like a star being born. Hippolyta stands before her daughter in the ruins of Metropolis, sword raised not to kill but to hold attention, and speaks with a mother's voice that cuts through divine corruption deeper than any blade. Diana, my daughter, my heart, look at me. The Dark Wonder pauses mid-conquest, her lasso of submission coiled to convert thousands, and for one terrible moment, recognition flickers in eyes that have forgotten mercy. I see you, child, not the empress, not the conqueror. The girl who cried when sparrows fell from their nests, who swore to protect rather than dominate, who understood that true strength serves rather than rules. Behind them, Dr. Fate and the magical conclave channel power through Zatanna, her backward speech weaving the three lasso fragments into unity. The golden threads reach across space itself, touching Diana's corrupted lasso, and suddenly truth wars with dominion, compassion battles tyranny. The hero Diana crashes against the tyrant she's become. The Dark Wonder screams, not in pain but in revelation, as two versions of herself fight for control. The corruption resists, fed by Dark Multiverse certainty and 17 conquered worlds. But the original lasso remembers, pulls at threads of identity buried beneath darkness, shows Diana every choice that led here, every compromise, every moment she chose power over principle. In the Watchtower's medical bay, Superman opens his eyes to find corrupted Batman standing over him, and something in Bruce's vacant stare flickers, the spell's resonance reaching even through submission's chains. Clark grabs his friend's hand, squeezes, and whispers, "Fight, Bruce. Come back. We need you." On Earth, the Dark Legion freezes mid-conquest as their Empress's certainty wavers, the absolute conviction that powered their dominion cracking like ice beneath spring sun. The spell reaches critical mass. The lasso of truth and lasso of submission become one, light and darkness spiraling together, and Diana must choose. Cling to the corruption that promises peace through power, or embrace the truth that heroism requires faith in humanity's capacity for growth, even when that faith has been betrayed 1,000 times. "Mother," Diana gasps, and in her voice is the Princess Hippolyta raised, the hero the world loved, the friend the Trinity trusted. "I'm so tired of fighting battles that never end." "I know, my daughter," Hippolyta weeps, lowering her sword. "But that's what heroes do. We fight anyway, not because we'll win, but because some things are worth dying for. Freedom, hope, the belief that people deserve the chance to choose their own path even when they choose wrong." The corruption shatters. Dark energy explodes outward in a wave that spans the globe, breaking every chain of submission, freeing every corrupted mind, purging the Dark Multiverse's influence from Earth. The Dark Legion collapses, their certainty replaced by confusion and horror at what they've become. Across 10 cities, millions of people blink awake from the edge of conversion, free will restored, souls their own again. Diana falls to her knees before her mother, the god-enslaver sword clattering from nerveless fingers, her armor cracking as divinity and corruption separate. She looks at her hands, hands that broke Superman, corrupted Batman, and nearly conquered Earth, and the weight of what she's done threatens to crush her. But Hippolyta kneels beside her daughter and pulls her close, and in that embrace is forgiveness more powerful than any magic. "Welcome home, Diana, welcome home." In the weeks that follow, Earth rebuilds. Batman recovers his mind, the corruption purged but memory intact. He remembers serving, remembers submission, and the nightmares will last years. Superman heals physically but carries scars deeper than flesh, the knowledge that even Diana could fall to darkness. The Justice League reforms, but they're changed, humbled, and aware of how close they came to losing everything. Diana surrenders herself to trial, demands accountability for her actions, even though Earth's governments struggle to prosecute a god. She accepts exile from heroism, returns to Themyscira to begin the impossible work of redemption, not through dramatic gestures but through daily choice to serve rather than rule, to suggest rather than command, to hope despite overwhelming evidence that hope is foolish. The Dark Multiverse retreats but doesn't vanish. Its whispers still echo in Diana's dreams, promising that she was right, that mercy is weakness, that the only true peace requires absolute power. She wakes screaming some nights, terrified that she'll slip again, that the corruption isn't truly gone. But each morning she rises. She trains. She remembers. And she holds the reformed lasso of truth close to her heart, letting its magic remind her of who she truly is. Not a conqueror, not an empress, but an Amazon warrior who fights for those who cannot fight for themselves, who chooses compassion even when violence would be easier, who believes in humanity's potential for growth despite endless evidence of humanity's capacity for cruelty. The Trinity stands together again, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, watching Earth turn beneath them, aware of their failures, their compromises, their brush with tyranny. They don't speak much. There's too much pain, too much history. But they stand together anyway, because that's what heroes do. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night, and Diana has learned what hope truly costs. Not certainty, not victory, but the courage to keep fighting even when every instinct screams that submission would be easier. The Dark Multiverse watches from beyond dimensional barriers, patient and eternal. Diana resisted this time, but corruption never sleeps, and the question remains, when darkness calls again, and it will she have the strength to refuse? Will any of them? The multiverse holds its breath, waiting for an answer none can provide. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. More stories await.